the Super Bowl champs and the celebration at the White House. That is not happening. That is not happening. There will be a celebration at the White House, but yes, Donald Trump he says he disinvited the Eagles from coming there for their celebration, which is supposed to go down today. But most of the Eagles will tell you they didn't want to go. They weren't going to go. A small number of players did intend to go to the White House, and I think that was the problem for President Trump, is what it seems like, is that he didn't want, 5, 6, 10 players showing up because that would be a bad look.
So petty.
It's all so petty. It's all about crowd size.
So petty. I mean, this is back to the inauguration and the size of the crowd, and he couldn't handle the fact, because it's his own doing, because he's the guy that called the players who kneeled sons of bitches, saying they should be fired. Right. So a lot of people
or even sent out of the country.
Out of the country. So what is he expecting, that there are going to be people who are going to say, we're not going to embrace this?
I'd imagine that a bunch of players would have not gone, even had he not said
Probably
that.
so.
The White House has come out and said, because there have been these reports that 4, 5, maybe 10 players were going to go. They didn't specify how many players, but the White House did say that as of last week, 81 people from the Eagles and their team personnel said they were going to attend the White House. So people are making it sound like you could count on one hand the amount of people that were going to go to this thing today, when the White House is saying that that was not the case.
Do they know how many of those are players?
Yeah, the players.
I mean, if they know the 81 people, then they should be able to say how many were players.
They didn't specify, and also, people bring up how many people were at the inauguration, how many people were going to go to the White House. So it's Donald Trump's critics that have made this an issue, how many people are going to attend.
Donald Trump
I don't think you can only say that.
That's not true at all. Donald Trump was the one that came. Babcock, do you have your facts right there?
I always have my facts straight. Those are the only facts I know.
Nobody made a bigger.
The inauguration thing was all
it was all
Trump.
No, people were. I'm not defending Donald Trump here. I want to make that clear. But people did attack Donald Trump and say, "Oh, there was nobody there. He had such a small crowd."
He is the one who touted the big turnout that he is the one that goes around pumping his chest about these things everywhere.
So, is it possible?
81 people sounds like a lot of people to me.
Well, here's the deal.
Yeah, for you.
It's not going to happen. Not a lot of people are trying to go out there. What I'm interested in is the next sports team that is
Well, no, Van, I got the solution. It's not going to be the next sports team. What he should do is just limit it to golf and tennis, and then you privately call the individual who won, and if they say, I'll go, then he can announce it.
The president,
golf and tennis,
pointed out.
Those people aren't American a lot of times, though.
Well, so you take what you get, right? By the way, we got T.O. out.
Yes, we got Terrell Owens, and who was, of course, a former Eagle, and we asked him what he thought about the team not going to the White House. Were they disinvited, or did they decide not to go?
Tia, real quick, you were an Eagle. Trump just pulled the visit. He uninvited the Eagles to the White House.
I'm sure it wasn't him uninviting the Eagles. I'm sure they didn't want to go.
Well, a lot of them didn't want to, but I think some...
Right, so what is that? So how does he uninvite people that didn't want to go? Come on, dog, let's keep it real.
Hi, my name is Martell. I'm calling from the Bay Area. Trump just has no chill. He's kind of like that housewife who doesn't invite their next girlfriend because, for whatever reason, it's kind of like ridiculous at this point. But what do you expect from our president? I feel like he still has that syndrome from the little kid who didn't get a Valentine's Day gram at school, when he's just bitter about invitations and things. But
wait, Harvey.
Really cool.
Sarah Huckabee Sanders just said that the Eagles are trying. She just said this. Right. Said the Eagles are guilty of trying to pull off a quote political stunt. Eagles.
God.
That are the ones doing the political stunts.
No,
this is very entertaining.
We just can't. Oh, my God.